Good evening, everybody, or morning, afternoon, whenever you're watching this, to another edition of E2C Network Live, the place where we get together and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. Obviously, always heavy on the sports here, but if it's orange and blue, we'll talk about it here on this show. So thank you for joining us, whether you're watching this live or on the replay. We hope that you can spend a little bit of time with us just to hang out and talk about what we love about our favorite town, our favorite city, our favorite university, team, our favorite family, and that would be the Auburn family. So on these live streams, we get together and we talk about anything and everything. We usually come prepared with a main topic, that being today. Auburn's had a pretty big weekend across the board. Not every program had as much success as some others did, but particularly basketball, track and field. Believe it or not, we have a lot to talk about with track and field if y'all want to know about that. Equestrian as well. Excuse me, I'm all choked up about it because I got so moved by how well they did. There's a lot about that to talk as well. You know, there's this Round Rock Classic that's going on for Auburn baseball. It's a big event. It's not going as well as some of the Auburn fans would like, but it's still something that we can talk about as well. So there's plenty to talk about from this weekend, but anything and everything that you would like to touch on, to ask questions about, comment on, we can cover here when you'd like to. A couple things that we want to do before we always get started here. I want to know where you're calling in from, where you're watching from, listening from, because you're not really calling in, wherever you're watching from. So if you can do that, please post that in the comments right now, city, state, international, while I go through our pre-show announcements. And these are the ways that you can help support the content that we do here on this YouTube channel, but also on mainly our podcast network. One, we'd hope that you go check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can really get them anywhere. If it's not on yours of choice, then you need to let me know. We'll get it out there for you. Today is a great day to join the E2C Network Booster Club for as little as $1 a month. You would say, well, what does $1 do for you? You never know. I really would hope that you go over there and check it out. All these links are going to be in the top of the chat window, the very top, very beginning, but also they're in the description for all of our videos. So, and you can find it also on e2cnetwork.com under the support tab if you need to find other ways to do that as well. So those are some of the ways you can do that. TeePublic is a good option too. They have a sale going on right now where you can get our logo, some other Auburn or sports related things for as little as $13. It's a good time to go check out some of that stuff today. And this is not one of our shirts. This is just an Auburn shirt, but I always want to specify that. I usually forget to wear my shirt when they're actually having the sale so you can see what it is. I did we're doing some more of these YouTube Shorts videos, which is like the new thing on there, trying it out. One of them's done particularly well. I was surprised at that. That one of those videos has the E2C Network shirt in it. You can go see if you like that or not. They're very comfortable if you'd like to go check those out. Samuel Pate is here. What's going on, my man? A.U. Robinson also here. Thank you all so much for being here. As you do come in, please do make sure you smash that like button. We want to help spread the word that we are live right now so that we'll get as many people in here joining in the conversation as possible. It is a very sleepy Sunday though, so I think we'll have an exclusive, lower crowd. So this is a great time for questions and comments about anything that you want to talk about. Let's see. I hate when people say win or lose. It's win or be upset. Not understanding what that's about, but there you go. My bearded dragon is the mascot for the E2C network. Well, you need to take that up with the E2C network department, who's what mascot. But hey, look, we don't have an official mascot at this point, so why not? If you want it to be the mascot, you can even see it in his avatar right there. You sure can. I think most people don't even know what a bearded dragon is, much less do they want it as a mascot. I think I've shared this before. I actually work for a zoo as my day job, and I've worked with several of those, held several of them in my hand. They're like the cats of reptiles, I feel like, is the way I kind of picture them. By the way, we don't have a social media stream going simultaneous with us because It just wouldn't work. I tried to do Instagram today, but it's like finicky whether it actually goes live or not. It's really weird. We'll figure it out someday. Michael Trott, good to see you, my man. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you joining in with us. Sam, the weather this weekend has been outstanding. Now, I understand that Monday and Tuesday is going to be absolutely horrendous in a lot of the southeast. So not looking forward to that. But you can't complain much. And I think that's what's added to the greatness of this weekend for Auburn sports as well, because a lot of these, well, not a lot, but a good portion of them were outdoors. And so this was a great opportunity to go outside, go where it's probably a little bit safer during a pandemic to go without your mask. If you're allowed to not have those on, I don't think on campuses, you're not allowed to have those things. But like track and field, equestrian, they were outside. Obviously basketball's inside. But it was a good weekend to get out moving around to see what's going on with anything really, but obviously college athletics as well. This would have been a banner day for Auburn to have had an A-Day weekend. That's coming up very soon too, by the way. So what did you guys think was the big thing of this weekend? Obviously, we still got, we definitely have baseball going on right now. Last time I checked, they were up 1-0, I think. If that's correct, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I think that is the case. Joe, what's going on? I want to give a shout out to Joe as one of our E2C Network Booster Club members over there at Patreon. Thank you so much for your continued support of what we do here. And you, too, can be a supporter there as well if you'd like to, for as little as $1 a month. Hopefully we make it worth your while, Joe. And I hope you enjoyed the special. Like, for instance, the people that are there know who the next Auburn Roots guest is going to be. In fact, I will be interviewing him tomorrow. We were supposed to interview earlier this week, but he got busy. So we've scheduled it for tomorrow, noonish, I think is what we said. So we may not even be able to go live stream at a regular time because I'll be doing that with him, which is going to be, really exciting. I'm excited about this interview, so you should just get excited about it. Auburn, please win. Sam, I think you've got to learn to deal with the losing a little bit better, buddy. I know you're probably just having a little fun, but I would just caution you that you can't win everything, and that's, if you're going to be an Auburn fan, you have to understand that sometimes things don't work out for us. And when I say sometimes, it feels like a lot of the time, honestly, because things that are just crazy. But he just said it's unbelievable that we beat Tennessee. So I think we can start with that conversation. What all did y'all think about, you've had a day to sit on now, the game with Tennessee. What are your thoughts about the program with 2 games left in the season? I think it was an outstanding way to start the end of this season, which has been, a little bit tumultuous. Obviously, with the announcement just before the season started that we would not be postseason eligible. Then Sharif Cooper not being eligible. Justin Powell rising to the occasion and then falling because of his injury. Getting Sharif Cooper back in it. Losing him now. It's just been up and down, up and down, up and down. I mean, there were points where even with a year where Auburn basketball was not going to be participating in postseason play, it looked like they deserved to be there. But then there's been times where they look like the bottom of the SEC. And it's pretty crazy there. Samuel says, I think we have a chance to beat Alabama. I think we have a chance. The problem is that, this is part of being a good sport here, is you have to admit when somebody looks pretty good on paper, right? Alabama looks pretty decent. Looks like they are. Can anybody confirm? Did they win against Mississippi State last night? I honestly didn't. I don't care, but in terms of enough to go check. But if someone can confirm that for me, that would be great. Because if they did, then that means they have a tie for the SEC regular season championship. If they didn't, then we have a chance to spoil them big time. Because if they didn't win last night, and I think they did probably. Last time I checked, they were winning by a good enough margin to probably wouldn't have lost it. We would be able to beat, if we beat them, we would pretty much guarantee, barring the rest of the teams sucking it up, that they would not be able to win it outright at least. Joe says we've been beating Tennessee and Kentucky when it matters most the last few years in basketball, right? I would say it doesn't matter much this season. But outside of that, yes. So the last 6 meetings with Tennessee, Auburn has won, which is crazy to think about with how good Tennessee has been over the last couple of seasons, right? Even with Rick Barnes coming in and kind of reestablishing them as a pretty decent program for the SEC. It's worked out pretty well in their favor for their rise in terms of how they're doing lately. So I would say that previous years, yes, we are beating Tennessee and Kentucky when it matters most. We beat Kentucky in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four. I embarrassed myself at my mother-in-law's house because we were watching it there. Ran screaming out the door, "We're going to the Final Four," out into her front yard. Her neighbor comes like storming out of his house across the street. "What's going on?" And I just like yelled at him, "We're going to the Final Four, baby, woo!" And then ran back in. And come to find out he was an Alabama fan, so that was a little awkward. But anyway. All right, Michael says that Alabama won. So that's unfortunate. So that means they at least now have a share of the regular season title. So if Auburn's able to beat them, that keeps them at least from winning it outright for one game, I believe. Barring, I think Arkansas is the one they're trying to. So Arkansas, I think, pretty much does. If Arkansas wins out, Auburn, if they can get the upset over Alabama, but I think after that, Alabama's done, actually. So yeah, I think the only way that they win it outright is they have to beat us. So we really can play the spoiler in this one, which would be wonderful to do. And back to the comment, I think earlier, about us being able to beat Alabama. I'll be honest here. I don't think they're as good as advertised. I honestly think Arkansas is the best team in the SEC. I do. We've seen every one of them now. We've seen LSU. We've seen Missouri. We've seen Tennessee. I'll throw Kentucky in there just because they're Kentucky. We've seen, Ole Miss has had up and down times. We've seen Mississippi State. We've seen Arkansas. We've seen Florida. I think Florida was probably up there as well. But Arkansas across the board is the one that I think has impressed me most. So I think they're the best team in the SEC. Alabama, when you look at their resume, they've beaten basically everybody they should have in the SEC. They lost to Arkansas. I forget the other team they lost to. But when given the opportunity to play non-conference teams, they have not risen to the occasion. And that would be, example, Oklahoma. They lost to Clemson. They lost to Western Kentucky. Clemson's not a bad loss. Western Kentucky is not like the worst loss you could ever have, but it's not a good one either. So I just think Alabama's probably not as good as they seem. Doesn't mean that we have a solid chance to beat them on the road right now. Joe says, thank you guys so much for hitting that like button too. And if you guys know some of our regulars who aren't here right now, send them a message. Tell them we're on right now so they'll come and join in with us. Joe says Bruce Pearl was an A+ hire. And Gus was an A+ hire. Now we are waiting to see if Brian Harsin will turn out. I think Brian Harsin, and he's asking me what I think about that. I think Bruce Pearl is clearly an A+ hire. I think, the notion that Gus was an A+ hire in retrospect is going to be something that infuriates a few people because they can't separate the emotions from the logic of the situation. It's become very clear to me over time. But I would agree with you that in fairness, I would say it's an A hire. A+, we could probably debate fairly with some people on. And I'm a huge Gus Malzahn fan, as I've said here thousands of times. The Brian Harsin hire, I think so far with what he's done, salvaging the recruiting class the way he has on paper, need to see how they perform on the field. I would say it's his overall hire to me is still in the B range, but what he produces on the field could rise into an A and A+ hire. So it's a great question. What do you all think about that? Let's see. What were we talking about? We're talking about some of the basketball. Oh yeah, Alabama being the somehow the best ones. On paper they are definitely, they look like the best ones, but I don't think that they necessarily are. And honestly, I was thinking that the SEC in basketball this year was a little bit better, but then I took a step back last night, and actually, I don't know if y'all have listened to the podcast today. So you can get it on Apple Podcast, anywhere out there. We put them out here on YouTube where you can listen to them. It's not like a video. It is a video, but there's nothing really to see other than like a logo sitting there, but you can hear the audio and things like that. So I hope you go check it out. Gray and I talked about this. He brought it up that the SEC is down this year. Without Auburn being able to participate, with Kentucky down right now, it really is a down year for the conference. And I think that's starting to show in the fact that Alabama hasn't produced at a non-conference level yet to build that resume shows as well. Michael says, I believe that Brian will not disappoint us. So why is that, Brian? Why do you think that? I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything, but I think it's very easy to say, I think he won't, but you got to have reasons why. I'm just curious. I can probably come up with some of those as well. I think he's performed everywhere he has gone. I think that's a reason to think that he will not disappoint us. Now, we're also comparing that success in the Sun Belt, then the Mountain West, and two different completely, you could probably make a case that Arkansas State, where he came before Boise State, was a little bit closer in terms of learning what it's like in southeastern country to play football, but still not the SEC. So it's going to be a big, big transition for him. Yeah, I think it will be. Time will tell. Right now on paper, he looks like a good hire. On the field is where it's really going to count. And in fairness, I don't think that you should count year one against him. Now, barring no wins and the recruiting goes back in the trash, then we can probably say that's a disappointment and something needs to be looked at there. But I don't think that that's going to happen. Sam says that he loved Gus and he did lots of great stuff for Auburn. He absolutely did. I think that's why you see so much ferocity with the hatred towards Gus and those that speak openly like me good about him, is because it's hard. It's not hard. It's not the right word. It is hard to argue without emotion about the good things that Gus did, because they always revert to, well, he's a high school coach. He's got a gimmick offense. He never changed, all that kind of stuff. You can probably make cases for some of those things, but those are really non-issues at this point. So, yes, Gus did a lot of great things for us. That time is gone. We'll see if it was the right decision. We're going to find out real quick. Like you said, by him salvaging the recruiting class and from his days at Boise State, he'll have the energy we need. I think energy is a good way to go with him. He's definitely, and when I say a breath of fresh air, I'm not meaning that we necessarily needed that, but we'll know that with time. He's much different in his style of leadership than Gus was. So it's definitely a change of pace. It's something that we have to get used to. I think a lot more people were open to that. The players is what really matters. Were they open to that? We'll find out. But yes, with salvaging the recruiting class with what he could, because that was a tall task. There were people dogging him for that were, so that's what was crazy about this whole situation. There were so many people just over the moon about this hire, but those same people were dogging him about the class, and I'm like, you don't have any consistency whatsoever, like at all. It's just crazy how inconsistent that is. You cannot hold this class against him. Now, if the things had happened again, like lost everybody, maybe that's the case then. But even still, I'd probably give him a pass. Yes, I did watch the basketball game yesterday. The commentator said Auburn clinched a share of the SEC. How did that work? I think that was probably a misspeak. In terms of, I think they probably meant Alabama saying that. That's probably, either you misheard or they misspoke. It's probably more likely they misspoke. You would be surprised how often Auburn and Alabama get interchanged. Sometimes not on purpose, sometimes on purpose. I have people at work that know that gets under my skin, and they will purposely, it's like, now you go for Alabama, right? No, I don't. Neil, happy Sunday. It's been a great weekend to be an Auburn fan, hasn't it, my friend? Unbeaten Lake. If Sharif comes back next year, our lineup might be the best in team history. Sharif Cooper, Jabari Smith, Justin Powell, Trey Alexander, and JT Thor. You're not even including guys like Jalen Williams, Devin Cambridge, Alan Flanagan. So you're already counting them out. So what we might see happen next year is what Kentucky traditionally and has done over previous seasons, where they had so much talent that they ran kind of a platoon system, where you have a starting 5 and then you have the next 5 that come in, or 4 of them or something like that. You really could do that because you've left out 3 players in that lineup alone, and you're assuming that they're going to start right away. My assumption is that if Sharif Cooper stays, he's the starting point guard. I think that then shifts to Justin Powell coming off the bench, simply because he will be the best option after that at point guard, and you don't really need them playing together too much. But he'll come in very quickly after that. But it's a potential that could be the lineup. I would just bet on Jalen Williams. I would bet on probably an Alan Flanagan, because I think he's shown what he can do when he's not asked to do things that he shouldn't be doing, like being the full-time point guard. I think he'll be in that starting lineup as well. I think Jabari works his way in. It could be a Sharif, Jabari, Allen, JT Thor, Jalen Williams situation next year. That's still a really good lineup. Yeah, Neil, we were actually, before you got in here, we were talking about how great this weekend was for Auburn in general, but it was like a great sports weekend. I hope some of y'all got an opportunity to go to some of these events, whether it was track and field. Now, granted, that was indoors. That was indoor season. But great weekend for everything here with the weather. I wish Alabama could lose in football. I think we all do. So here's the thing, though, is that, we got rid of the only coach that's beaten him on a consistent basis. And consistent is very loose there, because it didn't come as consistently as we wanted, apparently, for beating Alabama. But yes, we all wish that would happen. The machine is churning over there, and that machine will not get its first kink in the armor until Nick Saban is gone. In that time, you have to mold your strategy around how do you beat Nick Saban. And I know that sucks for a lot of people to hear that, and they get mad when you say that, but that they are the best program in the nation, and that's okay to admit that and say that. And so you have to form your program around how you beat that, and you don't beat them by doing the exact same thing that they do. Georgia is testament to that. Tennessee is testament to that. LSU is testament to that, minus where they had last year the greatest college football team of all time, apparently. I think what we've done with Brian Harsin is that we have brought in a guy who is different from what we are currently doing, but is still completely different from what Nick Saban is doing, and is going to help us going forward. Joe, did Flash or Worm run with the track team? So I may be misquoting this, and my wife Jessica, who does the track and field show with me, by the way, we'll be recording an episode for that today. I know that track and field isn't the most exciting thing for everybody here, but this is our shtick here on this network. We try to give coverage for everything else. I hope that you'll give that show a chance, because if nothing else, a husband and wife bickering over the podcast is the entertainment value there, and you get a lot of that in that show. So if you like that and you want to learn a little bit about track and field too, you'll get that there. It's usually we have fun with that show. But tons of yesterday was indoor SC championships. Jessica and I have not been able to talk about maybe one SEC champion in the 5 years that this show's been going on. And we had 3 yesterday, 2 from one person and 1 from another. Tons of silver medals, a lot of silver medals, a lot of bronze medals. It was a great day for track and field. We have not had success like this in a long time. So anyway, quick aside there for the show, and then what's been going on with track and field. But to answer your question, did Flash or Worm, meaning Shivers or Schwartz, run? Last year, I think they both were not part of indoor. They did run as freshmen, but not their sophomore years. Their junior seasons, we have not seen them pop up yet. And we didn't see them all during the regular season, so I would bet we didn't see them in the SC championships. I would bet with Schwartz committing to the NFL route this season, that's probably not going to be happening for him. I could be wrong, but he's got a lot more on his plate at this point. Shivers, though, maybe has an opportunity to do something. He's been part of the relay team at times. I actually was there, watched him run one time. He was a fast little dude. Not as fast as Schwartz, but still fast. You might see him, but I would bet he's fully football at this point. Let's see. Starting 5 next year will be Sharif Cooper. This is what Casey's saying. Justin, Allen, JT, and Jabari. So I would substitute Justin for Jalen Williams at this point and put Justin Powell as number 6 coming in. 6, he says Jalen, Devin, a transfer point guard, still possible, and Jamal Johnson. The only reason I am not, I think we'll go get a transfer point guard, but I don't think we're going to get one that's going to start or see a significant time. I think it's just going to be a depth issue thing, because I think once Justin's healthy, Jamal has shown that he can take on some of that role as well. So essentially, you've got 3 options already on the team at point guard. If you want to have a 4th one that really could maybe push Jamal out of that role, maybe. But yes, you could see a platoon system in essence at Auburn next year. Just turn on a few Auburn Gus tapes, and it will give you the blueprint, right? Let's see. Oh, she added here. Casey said Trey Alexander, Javon Franklin, Chris Moore, Dylan Carwell, Babatunde, Aking Bull. It's a deep team next year. A real deep team. And here's the thing we're not even talking about, people. Not all these players are going to be here next year. You need to go ahead and realize that. I have a feeling that a Javon Franklin, a Chris Moore, unfortunately, might be seeing them move on to something else. Could be, maybe not. Sam says, watch out for Auburn football next year. Why? Why do you say that? I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'd be curious as to know why. I mean, I think we have the potential to scare some people and do some upsets and things like that. But if you're talking championship stuff, be a little careful on that one. As I take my victory sip after saying that. That was kind of great timing there. It'd be funny if Auburn went undefeated just to keep the streak alive for brand new coaches. The last 3 have all gone to championships or undefeated. Not in their first seasons. Coach Malzahn didn't go undefeated, but went to a championship. And Gene Chizik went undefeated his second season. They went 8-5 his first season, I believe, is what the end total of that was. Or maybe it was 9-4. I can't remember, but it was 8 or 9 wins. And then Tommy Tuberville before that did not go undefeated either. So I think you had off a little bit there. But in terms of early success for brand new coaches, yes, I would say the streak could be alive in that sense. We need a transfer point guard. Remember Javon, we could not make the Final Four without him. Yeah, so I'm not disagreeing with you that we don't need to go get some type of point guard, but I think what you and I have in mind and what we go get in a point guard is a little bit different. I think looking at next year, we are set up very nicely with if Sharif comes back. Now, if Sharif doesn't come back, that changes everything. You got to go find somebody that can be the main point guard. So that really, and Sharif can do many things for Auburn besides make them super competitive next year, is also set them up better for the future to go find the next point guard. Because right now I don't think we have the space for him, and right now I don't know that they're out there at this point with everybody that we're bringing in. So if Sharif can stay, it sets us up better to go get a transfer point guard that's maybe just going to be the depth filler at this point. It depends on what Sharif does. Not in their first seasons, just saying the brand new coaches. I know it took Tuberville a few years. So there was just a loud crash outside of my neighborhood. I do not see people running, so I'm taking that as a good sign. I got my windows right here on the side. It's part of the reason I keep them open for sunlight, so I can have better lighting in here, but so I can know what's going on too. That was really weird. I guess we're good. But yeah, so Tuberville, I think he got here the 98 season. The 2000 season was, no, he got here in the 99 season, I think is what it was. 2000, he took us to the SEC championship behind Rudy Johnson. I was there, watched us stay competitive with Florida, but they were just too good that year. Still had Steve Spurrier as their head coach. It's hard to beat the fun and gun offense. Sam says, I've got them at 7-5, losing to Alabama State. If we lose to Alabama State, heads will roll. Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine the carnage within the fan base and on Twitter and such if that happens? Let's see. Are there fans in the stadium for baseball and softball? Yes, there are. But I think they are spaced out, limited capacity. I think you have to wear a mask, all that kind of stuff. I think. Don't quote me on that. The thing that's super surprising is the way that and this is not Auburn related, but could by trickle effect affect everything. The Major League Baseball is apparently, I think they're having some limitations, but the way that I heard it described, they are basically saying, no, we're going back to normal after a season where we weren't able to do that at all, as normal as we can be. Now that maybe you have to wear a mask in, but to me it sounded like almost full stadiums, not many limitations. And I like that aggressiveness. I think, and especially where we are right now, and I know this is a commentary that may bore people, you may not agree with or anything like that, so just let's keep it in check. I'm not trying to make statements that are out above my pay grade here, but I do feel like at this point in a pandemic, it's appropriate to be a little bit more aggressive with getting back to normal, with vaccines out and things like that. And just be aware that I do have some understanding of what's going on in the medical field because I do have a very direct connection to it. I don't work in the medical field, but I have a very direct connection to it. But yes, I do think that there are fans there, and I would like to, I'm actually, I'll be honest with you guys. I need to go look at in fact, since I don't have the social media folks with us right now, let's all look at it together. I was in discussions with my wife about potentially going to Auburn this weekend. And it looks like this would be a great weekend to go to Auburn. I don't know. Let me just go ahead and say that. First of all, I don't know that I'm going to do that right now. I don't even know that I can make it happen. But I might actually try to go to campus this weekend and maybe attend some of these games and things like that. Just to kind of go. It'll be my first time on campus since this all happened last year. And it's been about a year. So I'd like to do that, and maybe I'll get you some videos, maybe a vlog or two out of there for this YouTube channel. So the little bit exclusive there. Casey says, I see 11-1, only lost to Georgia, and we win the SEC championship and make the playoffs as a 2 seed. It's a little bit ambitious, but that's a plausible thing, because if we lose to Georgia, that we don't lose anybody on the SEC West, which makes us, the winner for our side in the SEC championship. So that's a plausible route. Don't think it's likely, but it's plausible. Maddie Pinta, and this is the softball pitcher, right? That's doing so great to have the no-hitter, I think is what it was. National Player of the Year. She's definitely putting up those type of numbers. So I'd love to see that. Remember the year we went to the World Series? We lost to Georgia Southern. Even though losing to Baylor and Oklahoma both games we should have won, this will be a better team than in 2019. I think we're still talking about softball at this point. Is that what we're talking about? Yeah. Potentially. We'll see what happens. Pitching needs to change. Move Cody Greenhill to the closer. I'm just now getting back up to date with the baseball team and kind of analyzing all that. So I know Cody Greenhill's our best reliever. But in my history with knowing who he is and what he's been, I don't see him as the closer. I see him as the setup man. Now, if Auburn doesn't have a better option at closer, which was the case the other day with Oklahoma, I think it was, then you may be right. You absolutely may be right. Oh, you're talking. I got you now. Talking about baseball. But yeah. I think we have a chance to be good in both baseball and softball this year. It's been a little bit frustrating start for baseball. I think we were at least expecting to get one win, and I don't know if that's the case. Anybody want to give me an update on how we're doing it? You know what? I guess I could check. Again, I forget that I don't have the social media people with us right now. 1-0 Auburn still. But so let me give you guys a caveat. I know you're frustrated about the Oklahoma loss in Round Rock Classic. I know you're frustrated about the Baylor situation yesterday. I think if Auburn had beat Oklahoma, I think they would have beaten Baylor. I think they've been riding high. I think they that sucked the wind out of them, so to speak, kind of sucked everything out of their sails. Beating Texas A&M, if they can hold on in the top of the 7th, of course, it looks like bases are loaded with no outs. So that is, but Auburn's at the plate, I guess is what it is. Anyway. if they can beat Texas A&M, Auburn is in a tough conference for baseball, but they're in a tough division as well. With Ole Miss, Texas A&M, LSU, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. Alabama's not supposed to be good, but you never know. That is just a tough thing to do. So if they can get an early win, albeit in technically non-conference play against an SEC team, that'll be a good sign. Joe says, I really believe that we should leave the choice up to the fans to be in the stadiums. It's only right. So let me play devil's advocate here with you, and I think it's a great topic, Joe, I'm very much like you. I'm a choice-led person, and a lot of this, and I'm going to bore some of you, but let me give you a little background about myself. So I work with animals. I work in the zoo industry. We do something that's called operant conditioning. And it's basically training the animals to do something naturally they would do, but to do it when we would like them to. For instance, come to us, to come inside a building, to come stand here on this scale type of thing. But what you do is you set up conditions where they are more likely to do those things that they would naturally do. So what we never do, unless emergency situation, we never want to force them to do something, because if you force them to do something they don't necessarily want to do, they're less likely to do it later. So in a situation like this, where we apply this to animals which are intelligent to some degree, but not as intelligent, why would you do the opposite to humans who are highly intelligent? We can all debate on how highly that is. So yes, I said all that to say that in a scenario and in a society that, tends to believe in science, which I do, but I think that statement's is misused a lot. It's for political, all kinds of reasons. It's better off for us to give people the choice once the big part of the emergency is over. But the problem is, on the flip side of that coin, is that every company is nervous that some group out there is going to come get them and make them pay for not doing it the way that they wanted them to do. And that's just the world that we live in right now. Until we do something about that type of within our society, things are going to be hard to change. So that was take my soapbox, moved over here. I agree with the choice aspect, but I also understand from a business standpoint how hard it is not to comply with society. Woo, that was a rant. Casey says, in baseball, I was expecting to win all three. I'll be honest with you, I was too. I looked at their record, the opposing teams, and I looked at, especially with them having the struggles with the weather beforehand, and I looked at the way Auburn had been performing. I was like, we got a shot to win this thing, at least get 2 out of 3. And the fact that we're, potentially only going to get 1, it's a little bit disappointing, but I'm happy that we could potentially get 1. We want to see Auburn baseball host a super regional. We are the best team in the West. I wouldn't go that far yet. As we've talked about before, Casey, you are, the master of hyperbole. And I mean that with all the love and sincerity I can. I'm not trying to pick on you at all, but you are the master of hyperbole on these streams, which I love about you. I wouldn't say that they're the best. I would say they have potential to be the best, but they are one of the better teams. A few struggles right now they got to get figured out. In 7-8, I do agree, in terms of just, I never want to be rude towards people that feel that way and what we would categorize as the cancel culture, but I think there are better ways to accomplish goals that everybody wants. And I think the best way to do that is not by forcing people to do that, but to set up conditions where they get the choice to do so. And humans naturally have this altruistic nature to them that most people would probably make the choice to be a little bit safer, in essence, to save themselves or others. Doubt that they're ever going to let us back in stadiums. Freedoms taken away are not usually handed back by the powers that be. Well, Dusty, the only reason I would disagree with you with that is we're already seeing more the fact that we've got fans back in the stadiums already, like they allowed some this season, that's testament that that's not necessarily true. I understand the sentiment though, and I get where you're coming from on that, and it's not that I disagree, I just wouldn't go that far with it. There are people that like to flex their muscles, but I think, especially here in the Southeast, we'll be back to normal sooner rather than later. Or things will not be very pleasant down here in terms of just people being very unhappy and expressing that unhappiness in very loud fashion, whether that be online or whatever. So hopefully that's going to be the case. All right, I think we've had a pretty good stream today, guys. Let me get your last-minute comments, questions in, all that good stuff. Let me share a little bit of this with you all before we get out of here. Listen, if you guys haven't, please do check out the podcast that we do. We do lots of different sports. We just released the basketball podcast today. If you'll go check that out, you can listen to it here on the YouTube channel. But I'd hope that you go over to like Apple Podcast or something else. Leave a review if you're an Apple Podcast subscriber. That does help us out. Also, there are links for all this stuff in the description of this video. At the very top of the chat window, you have to scroll all the way up in the comments. But you'll find those there as well. Hope you'll consider being part of the E2C Network Booster Club. What we do here on this YouTube channel and primarily on our podcast network, it's not cheap. And, if you enjoy this, I hope that you'll consider supporting us for as little as $1 a month. You'll get yourself some perks, some exclusive information and stuff like that. Get featured on a podcast, all kinds of good stuff there. Just at least go check it out. You can follow the link over there. Today is a good day to do that if you want almost like a free preview of it, because you won't get charged till the beginning of the month. Let me see here. Oh, also, if you want our t-shirts, 35% off, $13 t-shirts in our TeePublic store. All those links, top of the chat, in the description. Let's see what's going on here. Can we give an early look at Auburn men's basketball schedule next year? They have not posted it yet, to my knowledge. Now, I may be wrong. They may have announced I'm kind of looking that up as we talk about it right here. Basketball schedule. I wrote basketball. Auburn basketball schedule. Stand by with me since we asked for this. I'm going to try to do this really quickly. Schedule. Almost got it. It's hard to type with your thumb. I don't know if y'all figured that out. Opposable thumbs, they're great for some things, but not all things. Hold on. 2022. I wanted to see if anything had popped up. So there's nothing official anywhere right now. I thought we had announced some type of challenge or some type of like event that we were going to be in, and I don't see that right now. So Bruce is really good. Here's what I can tell you. We'll probably be in some type of challenge, preseason tournament, event, something like that. You probably won't see us go back to the Maui Invitational, Orlando Invitational, Fort Myers tip-off, I think is what we technically went to this year when everything got changed around. I don't know if they do the NIT, the preseason NIT anymore. I'd like to see us do that. I think that would be interesting to do. But you can probably see us do one of those. You can see us probably schedule at least one, if not two, Alabama teams. I hope one of those is UAB. I really like that rivalry that's developed over the years. And the fact that it's not every year, I think, is a shame. And having it, I think, personally, I'd be even willing to have it in Birmingham, but not at their stadium, but at the BJCC every single year. Because I think it's a huge draw for Auburn fans, but also that area as well for basketball. Could be the start of an all-Alabama tournament. That's what I want. Probably have to triple mask in Athens from now on. Yeah, you just never know. You never know these days what everybody wants. Can we host the preseason tournament, 8 teams? We could. I don't hear any news about that. Auburn Arena has hosted early rounds of the women's tournament. I don't think it'll be... Well, let me say this. They typically only go to big cities for especially the opening rounds of the NCAA tournament, and then even the bigger cities for those after that. So you will never see Auburn be a Final Four, an Elite Eight, a Sweet 16 location. But they could, in essence, be one of the opening rounds at some point. I don't think you'll see that for quite some time. But in terms of hosting a tournament there, you absolutely could. You could do a state tournament where you have Alabama, UAB, you have South Alabama, you've got Troy, some of the smaller teams like Jacksonville State. Invite them in. That's 6 teams, I think, right there. You could invite some of the even smaller teams in and have something like that. But potentially one day. All right, guys, thank y'all so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed the content today, please do make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. I hope to be able to go live tomorrow. In theory, I should be recording with our Auburn Roots guest. Only the the E2C Network Booster Club members know who that is already. It's a big one. So if you want to know that, go check that out over there. You can sign up for as little as $1. And so I hope to go live tomorrow if I can, but it'll be dependent on how long that takes, everything like that. So anyway, let me sneeze. I was about to sneeze. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here today. I've enjoyed talking to you all, and I hope we'll be back on a live stream very soon together. Till then, where you go.